Hi everyone, welcome to Writing 427-522 online for the winter semester 2024. My name is Steve Benninghoff and I'm going to be your instructor for this semester. I've taught this class off and on for 20 years, so I've done it quite a few times, but it's changed quite a bit. And this is the first time the class has been taught online. So as we go through this, there have been some significant changes, and I've got most of it figured out, but it's not completely laid out in here. So there will be things I'm going to be adding and modifying as we go. But the first thing that I want you to do is, of course, just listen to this video as I walk through the syllabus and point out some of the aspects of the course and the way it'll work and the assignments and things. You, of course, should read all of this on your own and check it out and see what questions you might have as we get started. And then just get going with your introductions, and we'll be thinking a lot about what editing is and how it works. So as you can see, I'm in the course syllabus here. If I go to the home, you will see that the home page, I should probably put this in the student view, and that sort of violent purple look for it in any case, but it will have everything will be on the home page. This will be the place for you to check to see when things are due, what is due. The assignments will be linked from here. I know you'll have this to-do list, but it's interesting to me that the to-do list right off the bat has things sort of in opposite order. I can't figure out why the to-do list arranges things the way that it does, but begin B seems like alphabetically that should be first. That was put in there first, but it has you doing the introduction discussion before the begin here. I don't know why that works that way. So make sure that you check and follow what's going on this page, and that'll be the main source. And so to the degree that the to-do list works, great, but be aware that you need to check it against what's going on the actual home page, which has our schedule. The first things that we'll be doing is listening to this, then introducing yourselves. I'll be asking you a little bit about what you think about editing, what experience you've had with editing, what your jobs have been, not necessarily in editing, but in anything, what your areas of experience are, and I'll be talking a bit about the projects, and you'll understand why we need to get some of that out and shared with the rest of the class. You'll notice there's an initial grammar assessment that I'll have you do just to get people aware that, and this is a concept that is in a lot of my classes, is quite important, is the notion of tacit knowledge. So learning to write, learning to read are things that we learn to just do. And we don't necessarily become all that sort of conscious of them when we become professionals or become experts in these different sort of areas. People develop terminology, specialized terminology for things. But we learn to speak languages, we learn to write languages, but we don't really become experts in terms of having terminology for grammar very much, unless you learn to speak another language and you start doing things that are comparative, and then all of a sudden you start to understand concepts that we can all speak the language completely fluently, we can write it for the most part, but if you ask us to sort of explain the grammar, most of us struggle. And this has been something that they teach less and less explicit grammar in school as we go. So it'll be an important thing if you're interested in pursuing editing at all, or different aspects of editing. You need to become a word nerd. You need to be able to become somebody who can talk about restrictive and non-restrictive clauses, somebody who can talk about prepositional phrases, that you can sort of geek out with the best of people in talking about different sentences, why they're punctuated the way they are, what makes different things cohere. And we are going to dig down into this semester. In the past, I've used just Carolyn Rood's technical editing textbook for this class, which is a good book. Let's see, let me get to the syllabus here. And, I'm sorry, not the syllabus, the home. No, that's wrong. I wanted the syllabus. Okay. It's a good book, but it's getting a little older in the tooth. And one of the things that's sort of a challenge with it is that it's really good on teaching copy marking and like getting people into the actual work of technical editing. But sometimes students haven't had a lot of formal grammar before they're in the class, and it doesn't necessarily focus on it so well, and people have kind of struggled with that. So one of the things that we're going to do at the beginning of this semester is we're going to do exercises from a book called The Writer's Options, using sentence combining. And by having you write and combine sentences, it is my hope that people will become much more knowledgeable, explicitly knowledgeable about complex sentences, how different structures and syntax work, and will get a better grasp of that than they have just using the Rood book. We'll use that book to get started. We're going to use bits from the Rood technical editing book to learn the copy editing marking, and to do that, you'll need to figure out a way. I'm sort of bouncing around, so let's get right to. Here's the text. The one book I'm going to have you buy is Benjamin Dreyer's English, Utterly Correct Guide to Clarity and Style. Now, that sounds like it's the be-all, end-all answer, but it is very tongue-in-cheek. Dreyer knows there are things that are rules, but there's an awful lot of issues in grammar and usage that are debated and are changing from time to time. So the book's a wonderful read, but we're going to get started first with this book, The Writer's Options, and then we'll be looking at technical editing, and we'll look at Dreyer and Williams sort of third as we sort of get going in the semester here. Now, the way the class works, because it's online, it's a fully online class. All this stuff, the Dreyer book is the only one you're going to have in print. The other ones are going to be PDFs that will be from this Canvas site, which is nice. You don't need to buy books or do anything. But the counter to that is that you need to make sure you're taking notes out of the readings in whatever ways suit you best. If you have a way to mark up PDFs and take notes on those, if you want to copy them out to a notebook, which I actually recommend especially for copy marking notes and other things, actually copying the tables of the markings out into something of your own to make your own little reference sheet handbook that has the consequence of helping you learn them better. And then there will be PDFs that are manuscripts that you will need to mark up and edit. And we won't be doing that for the first couple weeks, but you're going to need to figure out a way that you want to do that. If you're someone who's already on campus, so if you're just taking an online course, but you're also on campus, I can print these out and make them available in my mailbox in the department so that you can pick them up at the beginning of each week. And the easiest way to do some of these things will be to mark them up by hand on paper and then take photographs of your work and submit those for those kinds of things. If you have a tablet or if you have a PC that has a screen that you can mark on and you have a stylus, that can be a very easy way to actually mark up the PDFs and do it that way. There are also ways, if you don't have a tablet or have a screen that can mark up, you can do it with just the mouse. But I'll do a video that sort of shows a couple of these different options. But as you can see, there's just several easy ways. There's a very easy way to do it by just printing things out or getting the copies from me or marking them up on a PDF. For the sentence combining exercises and for a lot of the readings, we'll be doing you'll be doing something that's a Google reading journal. It's just a place for you to put notes, like a page of notes down for each reading that we're doing that calls for that. And I will make available a lot of times, at least to get us started, the sentences that the sentence combining exercises will have you do. And I'll put those in a Google Doc so that you can just copy and paste and really concentrate on creating different versions or different arrangements of those sentences and what the effect of those different arrangements are. Effects are, yes. So, so that's for the reading and the assignments and taking notes. The copy editing exercise. One important thing to note about the way the online class works is, since we don't have any other way, and this is something, another key concept that people in my classes know, is that learning is very social. It's not something like people don't learn very well completely on their own. And so much of learning is social and has to happen through connections. And so the discussions that we'll do are a key aspect of the learning. And so, yeah, read this section carefully and think about the ways that you need to be in contact and online. Just because it's an online class doesn't mean that you show up on Saturday, do a bunch of work, and that's it. You have to be online every day. So the way that the course is set up is that it'll be on the half week. So basically the Monday through Wednesday, Wednesday through Friday. You can use Saturday and Sunday, but try to not have people have to if they don't want to. But you certainly can use Saturday and Sunday. Read the fine print here, the red stuff that's right. Of course, if you sign up for an online class, you've got to be responsible for checking your email and taking care of internet access. Now, for the participation and for the discussions, right, the ways that discussions will work is they're set over 3 days, but the first post everybody has to do is an initial post where you won't see anything in the discussion until you make your initial post. And that initial post needs to do a bit of a summary, like just in a few sentences of the reading. It needs to say, what are some of the interesting points? What are the ways that this piece makes you look or think differently? What are some interesting questions for discussion in these pieces? So everyone needs to write a piece. They don't have to be horrifically long, right, for those initial posts, but they also need to have a little bit of meat that shows that you did the reading. You should show that you connect with the terminology or with something that the authors say. And then that post is due the first day on a Monday or a Wednesday. And then you'll need to come back and post 2 different times and respond to different classmates. And those 2 second times need to be at least 6 hours apart. And I picked this policy up from Professor Krause, and it's a good sort of way of making sure that the discussions actually, people don't just post and go, and that there's a little bit of time between them, and that people are engaging with more of their classmates and responding to more of their classmates. So if you have questions about the way that works, make sure you read this through, and as we get going on it, people will get the idea. The next thing that we should probably discuss is the participation. don't ghost the class. Read the part about that. If you disappear for a period of time that works out to equal 5 classes, then you'll fail the class. So make sure that you're participating and you check in on the class pretty much every day. Let's see. So the writing projects, there are 3 main writing projects and 1 for the graduate students. So the 3 main writing projects, the first one, which will take the first close to half of the semester, but not quite, will be the Learning Grammar and Makeup project, where you're going to do these sentence combining exercises. You're going to do copy editing exercises and a style reflection where you look at a particular concept. Likely cohesion and coherence will be where we're trying to focus there. And then you're going to pull these things together in a portfolio, and there will be one sort of like a midterm or like an exam. When people go to work for editing companies, a lot of times you're given an editing test right up front, and that editing test will have a manuscript, and they will be looking for you to catch different kinds of grammatical issues. They'll be looking for you to comment on it, use copy marking symbols, and they will likely be looking for you to create a style sheet, which is a list at the bottom of different kinds of issues that are showing up in the particular piece. So the style sheet is sort of a list of what are the various issues that seem likely to turn up in this document again. Those are the things that will go into that Learning Grammar and Markup project. The Multimodal Editing project will have you taking a project that you did for a previous class, so a paper, a presentation, something that you did. So you'll want to be thinking about what different past pieces do you have. And couple of the readings we're going to look at will talk about how a lot of things that technical editors and technical writers are doing, their writing should be considered multimodal editing. That is, they're often reforming, modifying things from one form to another form. And so that project will be for you to take a paper or presentation, and we're going to focus on Ignite talks and podcasts. You're going to be put in groups based on what sort of medium you want to go for. And then you're going to need to write up a description of the audience. And audience, of course, is everything about how things are edited, how things are written, and that description will be your target for how you put together and revise your previous project into an Ignite talk or a podcast. Ignite talks are pretty fun, and and podcasts can be a blast as well. So we'll talk more about that later. The third project is one of the most important things, as those who've had me, and several of you have had me in class before, know that, right, professional and technical writing isn't just about the mechanics. It's about how do we create community? How do we work to build better relationships in the workplace? How do we work to build better relationships pretty much all the time? People think of rhetoric, and they think of rhetoric as only the place for the individual person to win. But the core of rhetoric is about how to make a better society, how to make a better community. Every time you're thinking about how to actually communicate with somebody, how to make things work, how to work with people better, how to be a better friend, how to be a better teacher, mentor, coach, whatever it is that you're doing, how to be a better person in your relationships, all that thinking is rhetorical. So rhetoric is not just the negative, it's not just the trickery, it's all the times that we're sort of analyzing who's the audience, what am I trying to achieve, and how do I want to do that, and what does it mean to not just to be a better person, but to make a better community, a better environment. So the Community Editing Stewardship Project will have you either looking for one of your workplaces. It'll either be based out of a workplace or It could potentially be a classroom, but odds are better that things will work a lot better. And what you're going to be writing is like a style guide or a training handbook, something that goes with that workplace that articulates maybe better than the workplace does itself, what the goals ought to be for that workplace. So it's going to articulate key terminology, how that terminology helps. So yeah, it'll be like a training manual with policies of the workplace and how and why, playing the role that you need to play in a given workplace and situation, and it should make for a really fun project. So those are our projects. The graduate students will do one deeper dive into a particular thing, and I'll be discussing that with you guys separately. But one more project that'll dig a little deeper into these things. And then here's the fine print. If you have, if you need resources for how things are going, the resources are here at the bottom. There are things about AI. We will be talking about AI and what that sort of portends for different kinds of editing and issues. It certainly is going to help with some things, but it is definitely not going to wipe out the need for editors. If people think it will, they're just going to sort of ignore and choose to not have that work be done in the future. So that works through the syllabus. In case you're interested, this is a painting by Norman Rockwell, and that is a sort of image of him visiting a country editor, and you can see somebody writing an article, someone printing an article, setting it up to be typecast, and other people in that sort of country place bringing in news bits for people. So that's the syllabus. Here's our home to get you started. Right? I think I've gone over what are the key issues, but after listening to this video and reading things over, please, if you have any other questions, get those into the begin here. Not, as I said, not everything is finished here. It's pretty well laid out for the first couple of weeks, but I'm going to be laying out the rest of it to get us through to the end. So welcome aboard, and it's going to be fun working with you.